Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Capn Kirk and Rick Rick podcast with your host, Capn Kirk, and co-host, Rick Rick, and this week's guest host, the Curb Stompster. This week we're going to be talking about David Bowie and the Super Bowl. So sit down, get ready, and enjoy the show. Now your host, Capn Kirk.
So, hey everybody, this is our first podcast. I'm Capn Kirk.
I'm Rick Rick.
And
I'm Curb Stomp. Which is mean, but I'm not mean.
What did you call yourself?
Curb Stomp.
Curb
What does
Stomp.
that even mean?
It's when you make someone bite the curb and then you kick their head in. But I've never done it or seen it, so
I did not know you were so mean.
Yeah, if we knew that, we might.
We're gonna have to watch what we say on this show, or
We'll
we'll get curb stomped. Awesome. Well, good.
She's our fact checker. If you don't say something that's correct,
accurate. Yeah. I'll beat you
Okay.
down.
she'll stomp
Good.
your head.
Good.
Clean in.
And so, what are you?
I'm just here.
Oh, good. And I am Capn Kirk, which means I'm a star. No.
Yeah.
Live long and
I don't
prosper.
know. Yeah, which means my name is
that
Kirk,
different?
and I like to be called
Is that
Capn.
right?
Well, anyway, so we're doing a podcast because there aren't enough of them out there
Yeah.
So true.
that are any good. And ours is going to be good because we're going to talk about things that are worth talking about. And so what we're going to talk, and we're going to talk about important stuff some weeks, some weeks non-important stuff, but we'll make it important.
That's right.
It's always going to be fun here.
All
and
fun.
lots of good information. We've been waiting for the Curbster, but Curb Stomp, really, because we heard she was really good.
Yeah.
Yes.
We need her. So we've been waiting.
So
How many
awkward when I'm not
podcasts
going
have you
to...
done before? You're on a lot, right?
Yeah, so I've grown up doing podcasts in my sleep. I've never done one. So,
But she dreams
But,
podcasts.
yeah,
Right. That's all we needed.
Yeah.
That's good. And so we're excited to have the Curb Stomp with us. And but what we're talking about this week is David Bowie, because he died and I grew up listening to his music. And so he's the one that's important to me this week.
Yeah.
And these two are going to try to make it unimportant. I don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I've got
No
important
opinion about
things.
David
I've got
Bowie.
important things to say about David Bowie, and it's a good time to talk about him because although he died maybe almost a month ago, he's being honored on the Grammys this Monday. Lady Gaga is going to be singing his songs, and she's phenomenal.
Which songs?
That has not been revealed.
Oh, man. Surprises.
Oh, I can't handle it either.
I can't.
It-
I hate them.
And
They
he's
should
got
be.
like about 15 big hits. I would have to believe that Changes is going to be one of them.
I've heard that song.
As a matter of
Have you?
fact, the last time that Bowie performed live was 9 years ago with Alicia Keys singing Changes. So I would have to believe that could be one of his songs. Maybe Let's Dance, his #1 smash. What I love him for is his old stuff. But anyway, although he is a rock and roll game changer, get it? Changer from changes.
Punny.
And he's been called the Picasso of rock and roll. Why would you think he's the Picasso of rock and roll, Rick?
I don't know, because he dresses like a hoochie mama.
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah. But anyway, so he's changed rock and roll a lot. Now, he was born in 1947 in England, and at the time, they were still cleaning up rubble from Hitler's bombs. So you have to picture where he came from. He was in a middle-class family where, as he got a little older, all they did was watch TV. There was no talking. His mom was a waitress. They literally, that's all they did was watch TV. Now, it's not like today.
Sounds like my upbringing.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's not like
that's
today,
pretty
though,
much
where
my
there's
family.
200 stations and all this. Back then, 2 or 3 stations and not much good on.
Well, that sums up my childhood.
And-
I had 3 stations.
And
I had maybe 50, but they were still all crap.
Spoiled.
and
Younger
so,
generation.
oh, you guys. Anyway, you don't know how easy you have it. But anyway, it was pretty bad. So he told a friend, whatever it takes, I'm out of here. And so he started, and the music he listened to back then, so this would be in the 50s, about when I was born, was Little Richard Tutti Frutti. Really weird, you know, I mean, you would have had to grown up back then to know Tutti Frutti. So I'm not expecting that. So then he learned how to play ukulele, piano, a tea-chest bass, sax, and he went into little, I'll call them little strange bands because they were kind of jazzy and bluesy, but actually they were a lot like the Beatles when they started. The Beatles started with kind of American folk music, and so he was into that. And there's stuff out from mid-60s of him. He's got like a hairdo like the Beatles. It's actually not very good. But
His stuff wasn't good?
no,
He was no
No.
Beatle?
no. But by 69, he
The
did.
year we went to the moon.
Well, that might be what started. I knew she would be good here because in 69 he did his song Space Oddity, and it had a lot
you
of
go.
radio play, and it was the one that went ground control to Major Tom.
I've heard that part, but that's it.
And then they're counting down backwards, 10, 9, ground control to Major Tom. Anyway, at that time, I was still listening to Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. So I hadn't quite discovered Bowie. But by the early 70s, I was into rock and roll. And his album that, in 71, he had wrote and performed Changes, the song we talked about. He was hanging out with like Andy Warhol, Mick Jagger, Lou Reed, some of the early guys. He was already getting really big. He was married to a lady named Angela, and even though his song Space Oddity had been pretty big, he was just still in weird bands. I think one was called The Hype, and she's like, you guys need something, and it was like, wear flashy outfits or costumes.
Ah.
And they didn't want to. She had to twist their arms.
Oh, he didn't
And-
even like it?
No.
Oh, man.
And
it's
so-
like the one thing I knew about David Bowie.
Yeah, and so we've got to blame his first wife for this, who later,
first wives.
as he turned all crazy, couldn't handle it anymore. Now, so can we blame his craziness on Angela?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we can.
All crazy comes
Yeah.
from women.
Yep, I agree.
That's where it
So-
all started.
So,
So true.
she was some kind of crazy to be where she was when she was and be David Bowie's wife. Okay? He went on to do my favorite album, one of my favorite albums of all time. And I love all kinds of music, but I mean, I was like a junior in high school when this album came out. And it was called The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars.
It's a long album name.
That's really long. I wonder if that's why it wasn't a number one, because it actually ended up with tons of hits off of it. But they could never say what the album was, so no people could never buy it. I don't know what the deal was. It had hits like 5 years. Starman, Lady Stardust, Ziggy Stardust, Rock and Roll Suicide. So then he went on and he wrote All the Young Dudes, but he didn't even sing that. That was a band called Mott the Hoople that got lots of radio play. Then he did Jean Genie, a real catchy hit back in 73. And he had been performing a lot as Ziggy Stardust.
His alter ego.
Yes. And then in about
Fierce.
73, he had a song about an Aladdin Sane, so he switched alter egos all the time. All this crazy garb he was wearing, which literally made me think he was kind of girlish. But turns out it was just like Alice Cooper. You know, just a persona, just like Lady Gaga now. I mean, it's just a persona. So then he did another hit, Rebel Rebel, off of Diamond Dogs in 74. Then he did Young Americans. You ever heard that, Young Americans? Then he did Golden Years in 76. 77, Heroes. But at about this time, in the mid-70s, guess what the dark side for David Bowie would be?
Drugs.
Heroin.
Nice guess. Probably heroin, but definitely coke. And he was way into coke, and it started really messing with him. It's actually amazing all the bands that survived through the coke years and did all their great work. Because these songs I've mentioned were big, big hits. But on the other side, in his personal life, Boston, it's not that boring. It gets better.
And for you listeners out there who may not know who Boston is Kirk's dog, who likes to come up and listen to us record podcast. He's currently our biggest and probably only fan at this point in time. Hopefully we get some more. But I don't know, he actually might not be our fan after this. It looks like he has, looks like our podcast has put him to sleep. It's that exciting.
He's snoring.
Is he snoring? Oh boy.
So old Bowie was really coked out. His marriage was failing. And
he was still married to that lady?
Still married. But about 76, they started a divorce. And the divorce took 4 years to happen. All the while, and he was so bad into coke, he once said, I blew my nose in California one day and half of my brains came out.
Ew.
That is a nasty visual.
That's pretty nasty.
But, so, anyway, so he was starting at this time to actually inspire punk rock and alternative rock. People like the Cars, who also dressed pretty flashy. Just really doing some cool things, and he realized the drugs were bad and the divorce was bad, so he went to Switzerland and Germany. Why, I don't know, but that's where he went to clean up, and he got off of the coke, and he won his son in the divorce. His son's name was Duncan, and Duncan is now a well-known producer.
Of what?
So,
Music?
movies.
Oh, okay.
Good question.
Thank you.
So then, in 82, he wrote a song called Cat People. Now, this is not a well-known song, but I tell you what, it's an amazing song. Absolutely amazing. And it was for the movie Cat People. I just want to see that movie. This song is so fantastic. But unfortunately, Bowie was not in Cat People. He just wrote the song. But all this time, he's just kind of like got this cult following, you know? He's not mainstream. There's, you know, it's kind of like all these little Bowies running around. You know, what did Gaga call all her minions?
Little monsters.
Yeah, little monsters. So he had minions of people, and I guess I was one of them, although I mostly just loved his one album I talked about. But then in 83, he came up with Let's Dance. And Let's Dance became a #1 smash, and it knocked Michael Jackson's beat it right from number 1.
Whoa.
Knocked it right off the charts.
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, yeah.
Totally know who that is.
So he was bigger than Michael Jackson. Then he followed it with China Girl and Modern Love. And now, instead of being a cult singer, he's an icon. He's doing huge arena tours. And by the way, speaking of tours, Madonna once said, "I was a freak oddball growing up in Michigan. My first concert ever was Bowie. It set me off on a lifetime journey." So that shows you how influential he was.
Yeah.
You know, people like Madonna, and I'm
We're
sure
inspired.
Gaga, who's going to perform his songs, those people listened to him when we're like, kind of like that ad on TV. I can do that. Did you see it last night? I can do that. It was the Pokemon ad.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Oh,
you know,
I think I missed that one.
wasn't that great. But it was okay. I guess if you like Pokemon. I don't even know what Pokemon is.
Well, 20 years. I
Yeah.
did see that part.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyway, and you mentioned Kanye West. He actually copied his crazy video format from David Bowie's videos. So I'm just trying to get you guys to realize how he's influenced rock and roll. With our show, I might not go so into a person as this. I'm going too into Bowie because he's dead now. He needs a good tribute. Okay? But we're going to do a little music every week where we're going to talk about somebody. We might talk about Adele's new album, Def Leppard's new album, you know, Tesla, who had a smashing new album recently. We're going to talk about new music and not necessarily old classic rock, because classic rock radio is dead, and we're not going to talk about that. No,
Kirk will
because
go on
those
for
guys,
hours.
we can't talk about that. Another time, because they think we're sheep, and we always want to hear the same thing over and over. But I'm not going to talk about that right now. Back to Bowie. So by 85, he co-wrote Pressure with Queen and performed that with them. That was a big hit.
Know that one.
Yeah, now we're getting closer to your time. In 87, he did Dancing in the Streets.
Which
you were
I
almost
saw.
born by now.
No, I wasn't born until the 90s.
I know, almost born by 87. Now, incidentally, that song Dancing in the Streets with Mick Jagger, that's a remake. That song was from the mid-60s.
What?
But it may have been the Rolling Stones. I should have figured out. The Kinks sang it also, but both versions were way different than the 87 version. I've heard them both, and they're just like, not good. Okay? And I'm a Kinks fan. Let me tell you, if I say something from the Kinks isn't good, then it's not. But it's because mid-60s music was pretty strange. It really was. There was Jagger and the Kinks were both around right when the Beatles were still barely getting going. You know, people think that all there was the Beatles, but it really wasn't that way. Anyway, so Mick even said Bowie, he was like an original. And that's why he needs a tribute. It's a travesty. His only #1 album was the Dark album, Black Star. He released 2 days before his death. And so he died, and then that album just became #1 on the charts. Pushed Adele's 25 off of #1. Probably only for a week, because it's not that good like all his other music. It's dark, it's sad, he's dying, he left us something, it's kind of scary. That's what I don't like, when people are so good and yet they don't get a #1 till they're dead. That's not right, you know. But anyway,
like most artists.
Yeah, it should have been the Ziggy Stardust, or even his Let's Dance album that had like 4 smashes on it in the 80s. Okay, by the way, what was really fantastic I saw in headline news, and by the way, it's always true if it's on headline news.
Always.
But a little plug out there for Robin Meade and the headline news crew.
Love them.
Anyway,
I don't know.
you guys, you don't watch enough TV, okay?
Will
Morning
you tell my
TV.
mom that?
Listen, Robin Meade is probably one of the hottest women in the world.
Why am I not watching headline news?
And she's been hot for 15, 20 years. She's timeless, just like David Bowie in another way. But I digress. What I saw was when David Bowie died, like about the next night in his hometown in England, there was like 100,000 people, or at least 20,000.
Would you say 1 million people?
It looked like 1 million. They all had candles lit, and they were out in the streets with their candles, like people do, and they were singing Starman. And that's a song Bowie wrote in '72 that is about God, the guy in the sky, the great man. And it talks about how he would come down to meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. It's really a cool song, and it was just awesome. Can you imagine how it sounds with that many people singing it? Pretty crazy.
That is crazy.
And so,
and what a cool, that'd be cool to experience.
That's why I watched Robin Meade and headline news. Because although I can't be there, I can still experience it. But anyways, he also, before we quit talking about him, in the mid-'80s, he was in films. A great vampire one, I guess, called The Hunger, which was one of the early great vampire movies. I guess it's a little dated now, with all special effects. He was in The Man Who Fell to Earth. He was in The Last Temptation of Christ. Later on, The Prestige from '06. And he
was in that movie?
Yeah.
Who is he?
It was probably a smaller role. He also was in Zoolander.
What?
Do you remember in Zoolander? I didn't even have that wrote down. Zoolander, remember they had the dance off? And the MC came out. That was David Bowie. All flashy.
I'm going to have to
telling
watch it
him,
again.
Yeah, I've got to watch it again because I'm excited to watch number 2.
Oh, me
Yeah.
too.
That comes out isn't that out about right now, this weekend?
I think it's this
or something?
weekend, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be great.
February 12th, maybe?
Yeah, so anyway, well, they have to have it out in time for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it's going to be the romantic comedy of the
It
year.
will be. Even though my wife won't like it, I will have to take her to it for Valentine's Day. Yeah. So anyway, Bowie did everything. He painted. One guy went through a real fancy art exhibit with him, and Bowie knew more about all these paintings, we're talking museums in England, than the curators. The dude was out there. He knew stuff. Unfortunately, and then he had that big smash hit called Fame. You ever heard that one from 1990?
No.
No?
I don't think
Anyway, that was a great hit. But right after that, you know how musicians have to change everything. He changed his music, and it got all distorted and grinding and weird, and Americans didn't like it, and it probably wasn't very good. So then in 2000, he switched to techno. Still had his little fans running around loving everything he did. And like I said, then he had a heart attack in '04 and quit touring, much to the bummer of his fans. And like I said, his last real song just done live was with Alicia Keys. But what a great guy. And like I said, he was such a showman with all these outfits. There's a Victoria and Albert Museum has a show with 300 of his artifacts. And it's been in 8 countries so far, and next year it's in Japan and Netherlands. That's the type of stuff Elton John can only dream of. Seriously. and there probably are Elton John shows actually from museums, you know. But you know, his personal life was as crazy as his music life. Ricky read stuff in the National Enquirer about him that probably wasn't very true, but it's been documented he had lovers from Elizabeth Taylor to Susan Sarandon, who incidentally was in The Hunger with him. And so he got around, but in 1990 he married supermodel Iman. And by the way, she was hot.
Iman.
Yeah, I don't know how you say her name, but then 8 years later they had a daughter, Lexi. Turns out he was a great dad. People saw him reading to her all the time. He went to all her dance recitals. And it's, you know, that's why I wanted to honor him on our first podcast, because he was more than just a flashy musician. He was a person. And we're all about people here, right?
Yes.
People that matter.
People who are good people.
And I think he was a good people.
Rock stars.
I think he was a good people. He just happened to be a rock star.
Got caught up in the lifestyle.
Got caught up in that lifestyle. I think his last lines were really fitting from his last video. It says, "Look up here, I'm in heaven. I've got scars that can't be seen." So anyway, he was timeless. Even as time ran out, he deserves the Grammys Lifetime Achievement Award by Gaga, and he does have his star on the Hollywood Walk. He is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And that's enough about Bowie. Now I can move on to Glenn Frey, another great artist that I loved, who died the same week, and we'll talk about him next week.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about something funny now. Not funny looking like me.
Or me. Let's talk about Super Bowl.
Yay!
Yeah, the Super Bowl. Are we going to talk about how funny Cam Newton looked?
Ooh, what a baby. No one
Yeah.
feels
Yeah.
bad that he gets paid millions of dollars to do something he loves.
Yeah, I feel a
Yeah.
little bad. I'm like, oh, poor guy.
The poor guy, do you know he got sacked, and it seems like not a lot, 7 times. That's more times than any other quarterback in any Super Bowl got sacked.
And it was awesome.
It was really awesome.
Rick must be the only Panthers fan here.
No, I'm not a fan of either, but I was actually rooting for Denver.
Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you were rooting for the ads. I came to
too.
watch the ads. How many people say that? You go up to them, "Oh, what do you think about the big game?" "Oh, I don't care about the big game this week, but I will watch the ads."
Which weren't even that
They
good.
weren't very good.
There was like a couple.
There was a few.
I liked those like Super Bowl baby ones. Those ones were funny.
You mean the monkey puppy
No.
baby?
The-
She liked the monkey puppy baby one.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
that was
I-
so weird
I
and
know it.
stupid. It was so creepy. Ew. Oh, like the
There's-
Super Bowl babies, where it's like
Oh.
their parents had babies because they're
You
like
thought that
team
was
one.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
You would think that was
You know,
funny.
one that slipped past me and I didn't see it till today, and they were talking about it
Oh, it was the
on
Kevin
the
Hart
news.
one.
Yeah, the Kevin Hart one.
The
where,
date one.
Yeah.
That one was
was funny.
good.
I've got to see that ad. I've seen clips. And
Kevin Hart is really funny.
what about the
Yes.
Ryan Reynolds one? Where he
No,
was the
yeah.
construction worker, and then he was
Oh,
something
really?
else, and there was these chicks driving along,
That
and
was
kept
a car one too.
everywhere
right?
they saw him, he was doing something. I was gonna say sexy, but I don't think he's sexy. He was trying to act sexy. How does that sound?
He totally thinks he's sexy.
I think women thinks he's sexy. No, I don't think he's sexy. All right. I don't think guys are good looking, but even I can tell Ryan Reynolds is good looking. How's
I mean,
that?
And you just look at his wife. I mean, he has to be good looking to snag Blake Lively.
Blake Lively. Now I
You
kind
don't
of...
know who that is?
Isn't she blonde?
Yeah.
I kind
Blonde
of...
and perfect.
Perfect blonde.
She's from Gossip Girl. She's
Oh, yeah,
on
my favorite
Sisterhood of the
show.
Traveling Pants.
My other favorite show.
Age of Adeline.
I love that one. I don't know how
nothing?
I don't know who she
Nothing?
is.
Oh, my goodness.
That's why we have you here, Curbster. Except, what's your real name?
Kirby.
No.
Curb Stomp.
The Curb Stomper.
Curb Stomp's here.
All right, she's revealed her real name now. It's
Yeah,
Kirby.
This is embarrassing.
Oh,
I didn't
crap.
know.
Oh, but that Super Bowl, back to the Super Bowl. Okay,
so much happiness.
I wanted Peyton Manning to win, and I am a
Yes.
Dallas Cowboys fan, so he's
Whoa.
not even in the right league, okay? Carolina's in the National.
But Cam Newton's kind of a jerk.
I know. And yet he's so good that I was like, okay, either it's going to be a good game or Denver's going to get stomped.
Yeah.
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 Which
even
we were
curb
all afraid
stomped,
of.
right?
We were
And-
all afraid of that.
But there isn't going to be someone else stomped like
No.
Cam Newton. No, that
No.
wasn't going to happen. And it was actually kind of shocking
Yeah, I was surprised.
and kind of cool.
yeah. Von Miller, new favorite player for Denver.
Yeah.
Plus, one of my old favorite players, DeMarcus Ware,
Yeah,
and
he did good.
he's from the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
And we traded him off because he got injured a whole bunch and didn't play for a couple of years. And now, look what we lost. I mean,
Seriously. He's like dream team up in there.
I know, so I was sick.
He'll
No,
play.
not Ware again. Although I like him so much, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay. If somebody has to do great, and it's not me, it might as well be DeMarcus Ware.
Oh, yeah. I was just happy because Cam Newton is so cocky.
I know.
And he's probably going to be back, you know? He is talented.
Everybody says he'll be back,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you know what? He might not be.
Oh.
He'll be around,
Oh,
but will
no.
he make it to the Super Bowl?
With a season like 17-2, I think he'll be back. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, but next year Dallas will win, and so
That won't be for another few months.
no, Romo is going to be healthy all season long, and we will
But he
stomp Cam
He needs
Newton.
a good offensive line.
He's got one.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll be there.
He can't
They aren't
perform
going
without
to
him.
keep letting people through, breaking him up. This year, my son-in-law was like, "Geez, is that Romo made of glass?" I kind of liked that. No, I hated that. It was still kind of funny though. But poor old Romo, he's old too now. He's 36, and Peyton.
Oh.
That was the other cool thing.
39.
Yeah,
That is crazy.
Man.
And 120 days.
and you know what? He really should retire. He has not revealed yet what he's gonna do.
Yeah.
But I think he should go out on top and quit.
Yeah. It was a tough season for him, it felt like, but
It was, but he
Yeah.
came through at the end.
he had
That's
the
the
defense to back him up.
Yeah.
Luckily.
Yeah, he even turned the ball. Well, he
Threw it.
twice.
Yeah,
he
threw an
had that
interception
fumble.
and a
He had a
fumble.
fumble, and yet the defense, even after that, was holding Cam. It was amazing, and it's a good thing Cam doesn't know where to find us. 'Cause
Yeah.
we have knocked him pretty good.
He has so many haters.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even care.
The
Oh,
dude
he will.
is like a
He'll come
machine.
And curb stomp the curb stomp.
He
No,
can't.
no.
He doesn't beat up on girls. It'll be you
He's
and
gonna
I.
curb stomp
He will.
the Kirk and
That dude
Ricardo.
can take one hand and probably kill both of us.
Probably. Who was the guy?
He's a big guy.
Yeah.
Who was the guy with the huge arms that had leg arms? Did you see that last night? There's some.
Leg arms.
His arms were so big.
That was the monkey dog baby.
No, he was on. I don't remember what team he was on.
Still a creepy commercial.
I know it.
No one saw the big arm guy. Like
There was
Like,
one.
what team did he play for?
I swear there
don't
was
remember.
one tackle, if this is what you're talking about, and I think Denver had the ball, and it looked like the dude was going to run all over, and somebody just like reached out an arm and tackled the dude. Is that what you're talking
No,
about?
that's not what I'm talking about. Could have been the dude though, because his arms are huge.
Anyway, we hope we get some followers because we really want to make this a fun show. But we do want to talk about stuff that counts. There's good rock and roll out there. There's good new music. We're going to find it. We're going to review it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to find other important issues. And we're going to talk about them. But we're going to try to have fun. Most importantly.
Number one,
if
fun.
it's not fun, Curb Stomp will stomp us and not come back. So we're going to make it fun, and it's going to be good, and we hope you'll all come back for our next podcast. Podcast 2 of Capn Kirk and Rick Rick with the Curbster.
The Curb Stomp.
The Curb Stomp.
Stompster.
She can't be called Curbster. I can't say why. I was gonna.
No.
All right. Till next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, hey, everybody. Rick here. Just really quick before we end, I wanted to let you all know that we do have an email address where you can send us your thoughts, suggestions, questions, recommendations. We'd love to hear from you. So our email address is questions@capnkirkandrickrick.com. Capn, it's not Captain, it's Capn. So it's questions@capnkirkandrickrick.com. Alright, so there you go. That's our email. Please feel free to send us your questions, comments, or any other thoughts you may have. We'd love to hear from you. And if any of you know who the football player was at the Super Bowl who had the leg arms, had arms as big as legs, please let me know. Send me a message. I'd appreciate it. With that being said, I hope you all have a great week, and we hope you tune in next time. Alright, ciao!
Thank you for listening to the Capn Kirk and Rick Rick podcast.
This podcast has been made possible by listeners like you.